Beach Invasion 1945 Pacific is an improvement over the original in every single way. Well, maybe except for one. So stick around and let's talk about why.
What'd he say his name was?
Gebatron.
If you aren't familiar with the Beach Invasion series, then you can watch the video at the top right to get up to speed. Beach Invasion 1945 Pacific doesn't do anything to change up its formula, but it does add a lot of stuff that the player base found lacking in the original, with some other interesting things that we'll talk about here in a little bit. The reason I'm making this video now is because a big content update is just dropping, adding even more content. The version of the game you're seeing here is actually a pre-update build that I was allowed early access to. Okay, so why is Beach Invasion Pacific better than the original? First reason is an extra game mode. Pacific has a co-op mode that allows you to play with a friend. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to play any co-op because this was a pre-update version of the game, but this is a welcome addition to the game that brings an extra level of fun for you and a friend. The second reason is more factions. In Beach Invasion 1944, we could only play as the Germans defending Normandy on D-Day. Pacific allows us to play as either the Japanese defending Iwo Jima or the US defending a map somewhere in the Philippines. But the update is going to be expanding this even further by introducing Peleliu, I think I'm pronouncing that somewhat right, Peleliu for the Japanese and Attu Island, Alaska for the US. Each of these maps being unique in their own way, and some even having unique weapons. Because Pacific gives us two factions, we are also talking about a greater variety of weapons and enemies. Okay, so that's that, but what about the actual gameplay is different? Something that's been improved that I personally really appreciate is the variety in weapon placement in Pacific. Not only do we get more variety in terms of elevation, but also depth. These depth changes probably being the most noticeable on the Alaskan map. Another big improvement over the original, especially on the two new maps, is difficulty. It might not look like there's much cover for the enemy here on the Alaskan map, but the infantry blend in really well, making them hard to see, especially in poorer weather conditions. You'll also notice that this map places the enemies out at a greater distance, making landing craft harder to hit with your bigger guns that are placed further to the rear due to the new weapon depth we talked about a little earlier. This means more of those harder to spot infantry will be landing successfully, making your job even harder. But the new Peleliu map is the most challenging. Instead of putting the enemy further away, now the enemy is much closer and the open area has been replaced with a beach that is full of obstacles and debris. To be successful on this map, you'll have to be changing weapons much more often than on some of the other maps. So not only do we get more maps with Pacific, but I think we are also getting more creative and better designed maps. Think of it this way. The premise of these beach invasion games is pretty simple, right? You're defending a beach from an enemy invasion. Pretty straightforward. But by varying available weapons, weapon placement, height, depth, whatever, by adding a little more enemy variety, and by being creative with map design, the dev team at AI x 2 Games has made each map feel like a unique experience. They each have their own challenges that will be best overcome by the player changing up their playstyle in order to be successful. It may seem simple, but AI x 2 could have been lazy and released a game here that didn't improve much over the original. But they chose to release a game that improves on the original, not only by giving us more content, but by making sure that content is also creative and high quality. So to AI x 2, I say bravo. There were some bugs in the build I played, most notably where the camera zooms in to show you those, close-up gruesome shots, but none of it was affecting gameplay or, really immersion breaking. These guys have a track record of fixing these, so I'm not saying it's okay that they're there, like they do need to be fixed, but I am confident that these will be fixed sooner rather than later. I recommend the Beach Invasion games. I think they are well-made games that give you exactly what they say they are going to. I especially recommend Beach Invasion 1945 Pacific as it has more game modes, more factions, more weapons, more enemies, it's more challenging, and it has more maps, and I think those maps are crafted at a high quality. So what's the one thing that Pacific is missing? The MG42. I just really like that gun. But don't worry, you can pick up either Beach Invasion 1944 or 1945 on Steam for just under $10 US. Make sure to watch the video at the top left to learn more about how Beach Invasion works. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe so you don't miss anything new, or even become a member to get early access to most videos. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.